Societal and political trends are rapidly breaking down the family that once was the cornerstone of our great American culture. At FIT, we know you cannot get this information on your own, so we'll bring it to your TV every single week. And we always invite all opposing views. Welcome to another edition of FIT TV and Gray Matters. Consider that you are a 16-year-old kid, and somewhere near where you are, someone is raped and murdered. Inexplicably and wrongfully, police and enforcement agencies accuse you, find you guilty, and jail you for 16 years. You were playing wiffle ball, and you are not the person who committed that horrific act. Even your DNA proves you are not guilty. You are confined and punished, and you know you are innocent. Hard to believe, but things like this happen in our country, and shamefully, anyone who has gone through this never remains the same. With no help to return to a normal life, what would that look like for you? Your life could be ruined, and maybe forever. And I have with me the victim of this wrongful conviction, Jeffrey Deskovic, from the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation.org. And what he's going to do is give us a little highlight film as to how his life really went during those times. And because he's been here before, this will be the shortened version, right, Jeff?
Absolutely, Chris.
Okay.
Yes, thanks for having me. Again, pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
So I was wrongfully convicted of a murder and rape.
In the way I described.
In the way in which you described.
Okay.
So I was wrongfully incarcerated from age 17 to 32. I lost all 7 of my appeals. I got turned down for parole. My life in prison, wrongfully, as you might imagine, was a living hell. Ultimately, I was cleared by further DNA testing, which not only reestablished my innocence, but also identified the actual perpetrator. So here I had to go beyond just proving my own innocence, which had been done prior to the trial to the DNA test, but I actually had to prove the guilt of the actual perpetrator, whose DNA was only in the data bank because left free while I was doing time for his crime, he killed another victim 3.5 years later.
If it wasn't for that
I would not be here talking to you right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So go ahead a little further about
Sure.
how it happened to you when you came out, and
Very difficult to reintegrate. It was awkward to restore relations with my family. Technology had changed. We didn't have cell phones, internet, GPS. Was never able to obtain gainful employment because the technology had passed me by, and I had gaps in my resume.
Right.
Certainly there were psychological after effects from PTSD, panic attacks, feeling of moving at a slower speed, fear of law enforcement.
Who would blame you?
Yeah, of course, everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
So it was a very. I'd lost track of all of my friends, so I had to try to put together a new social circle, which was difficult. Certainly, there was still a stigma. Yes, you were in prison wrongfully. We get that, but you were there for 16 years nonetheless. How much of that rubbed off on you? Is it safe to have you around someplace?
So that's it. So in other words, some of the people who may have ordinarily been all right by you if you had been a plumber from the Bronx and suddenly moved to Brooklyn.
Yes.
You now have to live with that stigma and their alternate view of.
Yes, exactly right.
Caution flag.
Exactly right. It has implications, just on the economic terms, trying to get jobs, even on the social side, in terms of making friends, or even dating life. I mean, that is implications for that too. So,
wow, yeah.
In a way, I feel like I'm still paying for the wrongful conviction even now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I use that could be for life. Mentioning in the opening, I was concerned about people not recognizing that even a relatively short, I'm going to say short, it really wasn't, but it was a powerful point in your life at 16 to 32 years.
To build off of that, I mean, let's just crystallize exactly what we're talking about that I missed. Births, deaths, weddings, high school prom, graduating high school, finishing my college education at a more traditional age, being on my way towards a career and possibly having a family, going through the natural life cycle of development at the normal age, rather than starting from 32 going forward.
Sure. And how about trying to remember how things were when you weren't there? You couldn't even remember it. It didn't have a crystal clear relationship to your brain because you really weren't there. You only had to think about, oh, so-and-so got married. I guess that's another thing I'll have to think about, I have to memorize. You had no experience with.
Yes, you miss a lot of living of life.
Yeah,
is
right.
what you're getting at, and I
Yes.
agree with that 1,000%. Yes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So in your work now, because you've taken the ball and you've decided, you know, I'm going to go forward now and take this, drive it to the point where hopefully no one else will be in that place that I was in, which
Right.
is commendable.
Thank you.
And you have an organization that you've developed called the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice?
Yeah, exactly right. So I started the organization using some of the compensation that I received. Our mission is to fight wrongful convictions through raising awareness and seeking changes in the law. Those two things, of course, being by way of prevention. Then we have the exonerative component, where we try to free people who have already been wrongfully imprisoned, and we try to help people reintegrate back into society once they are released, because they are released with nothing.
I'm thinking you must have a way to measure what someone's been away for and how long as criteria to make these.
Yeah, we have a case evaluation form. We look at
Okay.
certain legal documents and we evaluate whether we, credit the innocence claim, and whether and if we do, is there a way to win the case. In terms of some of the highlights, we've been in existence for about 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So our highlights, we helped exonerate one person who was in prison wrongfully for 23 and a
Is it
half
the
years.
Lopez you were
That was
talking about?
William Lopez,
I remember
yes,
the name,
as
yeah.
you remember that. We wrote letters on behalf of 3 people, which persuaded the parole board to release them on innocence grounds. Their innocence was clear from the pre-existing record, but procedurally their cases weren't at the point where they were ready to actually go to court. So as you know, the wheels of justice turn very slow, so it's better to be out while the court process happens. And then we also have helped 4 people reintegrate back into society which had been wrongfully convicted.
That's a major thing. Now, determining these people who you would choose to be innocent.
Yes.
The system
is very reluctant to acknowledge that. So here's how crazy it is, Chris. It's not enough to demonstrate that someone's innocent from the court record. They want you to come up with something that wasn't previously known.
So you have to go
have to
outside.
you have to prove a negative. So that's great if DNA is available, but that's only 5 to 12%. But if that's not available, then you have to do
forensic
investigation.
evaluation.
Well, you would
investigation.
look for similar crimes in nearby areas, investigate alternative suspects, interview witnesses who didn't testify, re-interview witnesses who did.
How do you get them to come to see you? You have
The
to go
clients?
out and get them. You have to
No,
these to get
the
this.
witnesses. No, you have to do field investigation.
Yes,
You
what
have
I'm
to
saying,
have
yeah, so how do you-
investigators to actually
You
go
got to
and do
go
that.
out and get. You have to go out and get that.
You have to go out and get that. It starts from the names and where they actually live at, and then they got to go and speak to them. Hopefully, they're going to cooperate with you. It's a very labor-intensive, difficult process.
Does anyone have trouble doing that for you? Thinking that I'm thinking that maybe sometimes people would be reluctant to give you information, or that they may implicate themselves somehow.
Those are all obstacles.
That happens too.
That happens too. Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. The thing that one of the things that distinguishes us from similar mission organizations, this kind of ties into that point, is most of the organizations in the field will only take on a case if there's DNA in it, because they don't want to dealing with witnesses. So that's one thing. Yeah, fast.
Yeah.
The layups.
Right. That's
okay?
right. Yeah.
So there's the DNA versus non-DNA. We try to clear people through whatever means is possible. Secondly, we advocate for policy changes that the other organizations privately agree with us on, but won't say so publicly, such as holding prosecutors accountable. Thirdly,
That's going to be
yeah. But we almost passed a bill on a commission on prosecutor conduct last year. But
that would have been a home run.
We're going to be at it again this year, and hopefully when we get the bill down to the Rules Committee, I'll come back to the show and we'll encourage people to call the elected officials to actually get a vote on the bill. We were really this close to passing it last session. We ran out of time. Is really what happened.
Ooh.
Thirdly, parole's a stopgap measure. Fourthly, we have the reintegrative component. The other organizations acknowledge like short-term housing as a need, but they don't do anything about it. And lastly, we're the only organization started by somebody from my position that has an exonerative component to it.
Oh.
So we're unique.
Yeah. What other types of organizations would have the same passion that you would have?
Well, there's about 60 similar mission organizations.
But not the same passion, I'm thinking.
No, there's actually the additional because I'm a first-person advocate.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I would think that that would be like one of the things more attractive to the public.
Yeah.
But it's been a challenge. One of the difficulties in terms of being a new organization is in terms of until you get your first major donor, nobody wants to be the first in. Until you get the first grant, no one wants to award you a grant. It's hard to find board members because most board members,
don't
most
have
people,
that experience.
They don't have the experience, or the opposite is true, where they're already on 3 or 4 boards. So now you got to try to catch people that have the right network, but that aren't already all boarded up, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Well, how long has this organization been?
We've been around we've been around for 3.5 years, so we're kind of like the new kids on the block. I think we have some good accomplishments, but certainly we need to be able to keep going, and that means getting more support from the public.
Well, do you know what other than what you just said, what type of person then, unless they were in and had a chance to look for money for you or be in that zone, how would you get people?
Well, I think people who have a strong moral compass, who care about criminal justice reform, or maybe people who learn about it and they're moved. So there's the financial aspect in terms of being a board member, or being a donor, or you could be a connector in terms of people who have those ability. But then there's also professional organizations that could donate like an in-kind service. I mean, whether that's lawyering,
What was in-kind?
In-kind donation. So that means rather than giving money, you give a service that you sell.
Okay.
So it might be someone who works in public relations. It might be someone who's a grant writer. It might be someone who has a law firm, or it might be.
Let's say I do divorce mediation. So let's
Yes.
say one of your clients is having difficulty in their marriage and they need counseling, or they want to be able to get a divorce that's simple. I could be a part of that?
Yes, you could donate that, and you would actually
donate my service.
You could donate your service, and you would get a tax write-off because we're a 501c3.
Let me be part of that then, because I appreciate what you're doing. I'd certainly like to be able to donate my time and my ability whenever I can.
Thank you. We need people that way. The other thing too is we need volunteers. So I think that people that are like retired, that they still want to do something, but just not full boat, maybe like 2 or 3 days a week. Again, in any of those areas, we certainly need assistance there. We need to get celebrity spokespeople. I mean, really just to bring further awareness and attention to the issue.
Would that be so hard? Why wouldn't that? Shouldn't be too hard, right?
You wouldn't think, but how do you get to people? There's all these bureaucracies and levels of people to get through. And then there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that are pulling at people. So how do you get your cause, your organization to stick out, to be on top? So really, so that's really the challenge there. So you got to know someone who knows someone who knows somebody. But I was away. I was away for 16 years.
You couldn't develop that while you were gone. That's for sure.
I could not. No. So maybe some of the people that are watching have a way to reach certain people that could be helpful.
Well, you were out for how long now?
I've been home for 9 years.
9 years. Okay, so. You probably weren't thinking about doing this immediately, or maybe, I don't know.
Well, the rough thought came to my head, but I certainly wasn't like building a network. I wasn't formalizing it. I wasn't building the network to lay it. I mean, I didn't understand it would be as difficult as it was. I just thought, look, it's a great cause. It's my name on the door. I've started it using some of the funds. It happened to me. All I got to do is just sit down with people of means. It'll be easy to speak to them, and people will just write checks to realize the rightness of this. But it's much more elaborate and difficult than that.
I've seen programs on certain, like Forensic Files, and I can't think of the names of any of the shows, like in Nightline and things like that, where people who were jailed for a period of time have gotten out. But you hear about what got them in, you hear about what it was like for them to be in, and you see that they got out, and they talk about the connection, and then whoosh, vacant air passes that, because I don't remember any of them. I remember feeling the pain of these people not being able to get back into life.
Right.
So.
Well, to harp off of that, a lot of us, we see when people are cleared and we think, well, it's happy. It's terrible what happened, but thank God they're out. It's over. Some people commit suicide.
Right.
Yeah,
they
some
can't
people
adjust to the life.
It's very hard to adjust to life. Alcohol is a problem. Some people turn to drugs. I mean, you would think, because it clearly is a state obligation to provide, housing, cost of living, mental
Yeah,
health services,
yeah.
doctor, dental care, public transportation, job training, job placement, classes on technology. But instead, they just release you with none of that. Well, none of those things.
Now, doesn't your organization do some of that?
We do some of those things.
That's
sure.
important.
Yes.
I mean, to me, the reintegration key to mental health, to the individual's return.
Absolutely, sure. Well,
Yeah.
I one of the ways I've been able to have the success in reintegrating that I have is through the mental health services. I mean, that was a big key. So the mental health issues don't typically surface while a person's wrongfully incarcerated. I think as a defense mechanism, the psyche suppresses that because of the goal.
While you're in prison, you talking about?
Yes, I do. Because I think that the preoccupation is, how do I prove my innocence and get the hell out of here?
Yeah.
And these things only emerge after exoneration.
And then when you're out, you're no longer in that zone, so you have to create this new thought process to make your life work.
Absolutely, absolutely you do, and it's a totally different world out here than what it is in prison. It's not as simple as just picking back up where you left off.
Yeah. We have a small relationship to this issue. Like when I was in the service, I was drafted. Sometimes the first few months that you're away, you're totally under somebody else's control, confined to barracks, confined to this and confined to that. That's a very remote sense of what someone who's in prison like you were. But a sense of it, indeed, as it was. I can relate to being, left. You know what I mean?
It's a good analogy, because psychologists who've studied the difficulty of exonerees reintegrating back to society, they say the closest experience is a military person coming back from serving.
Yeah. So that's
So
the only reason why I said that.
I think the analogy holds, and you see a lot of the military people have a hard time to readjust.
Oh, that's
too.
right. There's also a high suicide rate with returnees.
Very high suicide rate.
Especially combat-oriented people.
That's right.
So what else can your organization do going forward? You probably mentioned everything, I think, at this point. Well, if there's anything else, you have plenty of time here. Let's go through it. People who are retired are often set with a pension in retirement, and they're looking for meaningful things to do a few days a week. These are the people you're looking to be a part of your group.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
I mean, it's nice to have a paid staff. You need that, but you need to supplement that with volunteers.
Like retirees you were talking about
The
before.
retirees, yeah, from lawyers to investigators, PR, grant writers. Even just on a clerical level, I mean, we need cases to be inventoried. Like, do the files have the necessary paperwork in it for it to be evaluated? There's plenty of correspondence back and forth from the prisoners. So those are tasks that need to be done as well.
I don't remember seeing anything on connecting with people who are exonerated who can connect back with people like you did for part of your group. You got Lopez.
Yes.
Is there, can you suggest the same thing or get that to happen to others who are in jail?
When they're exonerated, when they come out? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Sure. What we do is I throw social events a couple times a month, and we get, whether it's at my house or we go out to different places, and it's camaraderie. It's talking about readjusting. It's talking about the time inside there. And people can be a resource to another, that if you've been through a similar experience. But that only works when you're like within a reasonable geographical location.
Yeah.
You don't do that to a person in another state.
California,
I mean,
New York, or something like that. How you gonna make that work? Yeah.
Phone could be very, But I think one of the last points I wanted to make, is that unfortunately, Chris, it does take money to run organizations like that. I've put quite a bit of my own personal money in. Obviously, I can't carry the organization individually. Most people think that, doing donations is something that just wealthy people do. But a lot of the presidential candidates in the last 12 years, I mean, I remember the president raised $100 million with donations ranging from 10 to 100. I mean, Bernie Sanders just raised, like $3 million, as he boasted average donation 27.
Super PACs and things like that, they have tons and tons of money.
But I'm saying common citizenry, though, if you do like a consistent small amount on a monthly basis, that can add up to quite a bit. So I guess maybe the last thing I just wanted to mention, is I do feel like I have a lot on an individual level, and this kind of ties into the awareness raising. I feel like there are definitely opportunities or there's potential I have, which really I haven't really managed to like fully tap into. I mean, I really would love to get like a speakers bureau to represent me, not just to do more frequent presentations, but to break into like motivational speaking, like the never give up type thing. I need a
You mean be hired by other people who you might tell your story to?
Yes, sure. I mean,
sure. I would think that's.
You know, there's the lecture circuit, but then there's also like the corporations
Sales
bringing
companies
motivational.
are always looking for motivational speakers.
Right, but I need somebody that can, you know, that can do those facilitate, and it's a paid service. You know, they make money off of a commission. I don't need them to do it, you know, for nothing.
They do have that?
Yeah, they do have speakers bureaus, but I haven't found the right entity yet. I need a literary agent. I mean, I'd love to be able. I got a book that's 95% done. I'd love to have someone to represent me.
When you find
there.
them, let me know. I got a book that's 70% done. I got a ways to go on mine.
Connect me with a publishing house that we can get the story out there, and I'd love to have follow-up products from documentary to a movie. You know, there's other ways of getting the story out there. There's there's a show called The Exonerated where it's like a play.
Right.
There's one-man shows. I mean, there's musicals. I mean, however different mediums you can reach people, I'd love to have my story out there. But you know, I need to have the right people to think it's a worthy thing, who know the path.
I'm not having trouble thinking. I don't see how it wouldn't. See,
But that's why I'm saying I feel like I have this potential and it can work. I just don't have the right people.
It's there. It just didn't.
Yeah, I need to have the right people who can open those doors, because the thing is, I need people who specialize, who know those fields. So I can't be a jack of everything, but somebody who knows how to do that.
Right.
And again, it's part entrepreneurial. We raise awareness. You know, there's some funds that are made, and whoever's doing that service makes some of it. So it's kind of like a win-win scenario.
So if you were theoretically to get Ace Hardware to talk about their sales force and to generate sales, they have to persevere. So you bring out the fact that you to make a relationship between good sales and staying with sales. You can say that, well, I was fighting all the time.
I fight all the time. I was selling myself. I mean, I just didn't give up. I didn't take no for an answer. I kept looking for different angles.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So you probably we have to make the right connection.
Sure. I mean, I remember once I did like a short acting part for about 5 minutes on screen. So I do have that ability. I think that I could certain bit parts. I think I could do. That would be exciting. I really would like to. I'd like to do that as well.
Yeah, you might be able to reach out to some television people and some movie people. Actually, your book, get that done, because a book is the best way that I know to get a film, to follow it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing too is, you know, I've been speaking publicly for about 9 years, and I have like a mini seminar, like 2-3 day. You know, these are my methods. But again, who would connect me with the right places and agency?
All right, well, we'll see if we can do that. That's for sure.
Okay.
Do everything we can. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Deskovic, and we'll do the best we can for you. Also, the website's coming up on your on the credits, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having us. Always a pleasure. Great work you do.
Nice. Thank you very much. We're doing the best we can.
You're doing very good.
Societal and political trends are rapidly breaking down the family that once was a cornerstone of our great American culture, and at FIT, we know you cannot get this information on your own, so we'll bring it to your TV every single week. My name is Chris DiMaggio, and I thank you very much for watching FIT TV, and we'll see you again next week. Now.